many of you all come from somewhere else? My hand too.
Just about all of us.
How many of you all are originally from here then? Okay. So most of you all are from somewhere else, and I'm including myself. It is interesting, is it not, that as we move around from place to place, town to town, we do it for different reasons. Sometimes it's chasing a job, other times it's family reasons. Sometimes we're running away from something, trying to get away from a bad situation. Other times we're running to a situation. We really want to try something. But in fact, no matter where you go, you know that at some point, in fact, someone is going to ask you a simple question, and they're going to say, "You're not from around here, are you? And you don't share our local point of view." Well, you might say that you'll fit in, but you know it's just not true. You're not from around here, are you? Well, you just have different things to say. You open your mouth, give yourself away. Well, you don't speak the way we do, which gives us all a clue. You're different from us as night is from day. Well, we can tell you aren't from round here. And everything about you seems a bit weird. We're watching you, you better know, everywhere you go. What you're doing here doesn't seem quite clear. I'm going to tell you a little story of mine when I first moved here from somewhere else. About 9 years ago, I moved here from out west for a variety of reasons. And we knew, moving from that part of the country to this part of the country, there's going to be a lot of differences. Moving from desert to the hills here, very different. The speech is different. The climate's different. Food is different. Cost of living is very different, thank goodness. And we knew we had to adapt. And we were ready to adapt. We'd been here about 3-4 weeks. We bought a house, and I hired 2 young men to do some housework for us. They're going to build us a porch and build a room inside the basement. And they came out, and they were friends of somebody in the neighborhood, and they said, "Oh yeah, we do this all the time. We moonlight on weekends and nights." And we said, "Great." Came up with a price, told them what we wanted, and let's go. Well, there were a couple of days into it. We were standing in the backyard talking. It was a hot summer day 9 years ago. And I happened to look up, and I saw this bird just slowly circling way, way, way up high. It looked like it caught the thermals. And you see these from time to time, don't you? One of these big birds, the wings are probably 4 feet out, and they look like little fingers on the end. And it just kind of floats lazily up there. And I realize that's some kind of bird of prey. I'm not sure if they're going down and attacking live creatures or if they're going down and attacking roadkill. I don't know. So I happened to ask these 2 fellows, and I said, I said, "Say, what kind of hawk is that up there?" One looked at the other, and he said, "That ain't no hawk. That there's a buzzard." I said, "Oh, well, buzzard." He says, "Don't you know nothing?" I said, "No, that's why I asked. I wasn't sure what kind of bird it was. I assume it's a hawk." "That ain't no hawk. That there's a buzzard." I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Why you want to know?" And I said, "Well, I'm not from around here, and I'm learning things." And he said, closed one eye and looked at me, and he said, "They ain't good eating. Is you thinking of eating one?" I said, No. I just wanted to know what it was, that's all." And he said, "Well, you know what?" He said, "If you want to eat one," he says, "I got a shotgun in the truck. I'll bring it down for you." No, I just wanted to know what kind of bird it was. That's all I was asking. And one says to the other, he said, boy, he ain't from around here. He doesn't know nothing. Okay, I can live with that. Then I had a question for them. I said, you know, I am so curious how come so many of these streets and roads, especially out in the country, are named after people. There's all kinds of streets here named after people, one kind after another. And I got to assume there's somebody important if you got the street named after you. And they said, yeah, like what? And I said, well, I'm kind of curious. I don't mind having a street named after me. What would I have to do to get a street named after me? And the guy looks at me and he says, ain't gonna happen. I said, why not? Guess what he said? Because you ain't from around here. Okay. All right, that being the case, what did this guy do to get a road named after him? I'm just curious. Because I've lived all over the country. I've never seen this. And he said, what kind of road you talking about? I said, well, between Jonesboro and Telford, there's a little road that goes through the woods that I've taken a few times. It's got the most interesting name, Bulldog Miller Road. Anybody been on it or heard of it? Bulldog Miller Road. It runs through the woods about half a mile. It's not much. And I said, I'm just curious, what did that guy do to get the road named after him? And one looked at the other, and they proceeded to have a conversation like I wasn't even there. One said to the other, he don't know Bulldog. And the other says, yeah, I heard that. He don't know Bulldog. And they proceed to tell each other how ridiculous that I don't know Bulldog. And I'm following the conversation like this, back and forth. And I said, so who's Bulldog? And the older one, the one that was kind of in charge, said, well, that'd be Sonny's cousin. And that's all there is to it. That's Sonny's cousin. Whoa, 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 whoa. A guy gets a road named after him because he's the cousin of somebody else? What's the rest of the story? And they said, that's it. I said, okay, who's Sonny? And they had this look of total shock. He don't know Sonny. He don't know Sonny. Yeah, I heard it. Man don't know Sonny. Guys, I've been here a few weeks. You know that. You see my out-of-state plates. You can hear me talk. I'm not from here. Who's Sonny? Why, that'd be a football coach over to the high school. Over there at Crockett. And that's it. Okay, you're telling me Bulldog got a road named after him because he's the cousin of the former football coach over at the high school. Yep. That's it. That's it. Wow, now that was a learning experience. That was quite a learning experience. I had no idea that that's the way things are done. But again, I have to learn to assimilate and to adapt. Well, let's fast forward about 3 years. We've been here a while. We're getting used to things. I love the roads that don't seem to go anywhere. They just kind of meander and, you know, they change names. You guys know that. It's crazy. I'm used to a system where it's a grid system. But I'm learning. And we decided to go back to Arizona and visit some family and grandkids. So we flew out there, and some friends of ours picked us up. We were going to stay with them for a week, and we're driving by a restaurant. We're really hungry. We had a bunch of layovers that went longer than we expected. They too were somewhat hungry. We said, hey, let's pull over here about a mile from where we used to live, actually, in a city of 1 million people. So we pull over, we went in, we were sitting down and have something to eat. Now the two women were sitting at a booth next to the wall, and the two men were sitting here at the end of the booth. And we're carrying on conversation. And it's your typical kind of restaurant in the afternoon, late afternoon. A lot of TV screens going, a lot of chatter, people coming in and out. It's kind of noisy. And the waitress came over and she asked for our drink orders. And the other couple went first, and she came over to my wife. Now you have to understand, where I come from, tea is either hot or iced. You order iced tea or you order hot tea. And if you want to put stuff in your tea later, why, by all means, go ahead. You like milk or honey or sugar or whatever you put in it. Just like your coffee. You get your basic tea, hot or cold. And we had to learn that that's not the case when we moved out here. But anyway, when she came to my wife and she said, what would you like? My wife, busy talking to our friend, turned around and said, unsweet, please. And then continued talking to her friend. And I'm conscious of the waitress standing next to me with her notebook, and she's just looking. And she says, pardon me? And my wife, who later on told me, she said, I thought with all the noise and the people, I didn't say it very loud. So she said slower and louder. She enunciated, unsweet, please. and then proceeded to turn back. At which point the waitress said, "Unsweet what?" And my wife went, ooh, I could see the look in her face. She said, "I'm sorry." She says, "Tea, unsweet tea." And the waitress looked at me and she said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I'll have the same thing." And then she said something I never expected to hear. She said, "You're not from around here, are you?" We lived there 41 years. Grew up there, retired there, had grandkids there, but apparently we don't belong anymore. And of course our friends are looking at us across the booth after she left, and they're going, "What was that all about?" And I said, "Apparently we're not from around here anymore. That's all there is to it."
You're not from around here, are you? You don't share our local point of view. You might say that you'll fit in, but you know it's just not true. You're not from around here, are you? Well, you might live here years, be left out, and you won't understand what we're all about. If you weren't born around this place, you're not a familiar face. In our mind, you'll always be leave us out. In our mind, from here, you're not around. So you are not welcome in our town. But as far as we know, whoever you are, you'll always be kept afar. In our hearts, you're better lost than found. You're not from around
Everybody
here, are you? And you don't share our local point of view. Well, you might say that you'll fit in, but you know it's just not true. Well, you're not from around here, are you? I said you ain't from around here, are you?
Yeehaw! Okay, that was our first recording session.